There exists a power so profound, so direct, and so absolute in its potential that to leave it undeveloped is to sabotage your destiny. This power is not external. It is not found in the opinions of men, nor in the movements of economies, nor in the applause of the world. It is found within. Hidden behind the noise of your mind, beneath the surface of your habits, behind the mask of your fears, it waits for your command. This power is your mindset, and your mindset is the sole architect of what you will allow yourself to earn, to do, and to become. If you seek to rise, truly rise to the level of success that whispers to you in silence and haunts you in your dreams, then you must master your mind. You must control what you think, how you respond, how you act under pressure, how you hold your line when the world tries to bend you. Success is not luck. Success is not charm. Success is not talent alone. Success is mindset mastery forged through discipline, detached from emotion, aligned with purpose, and executed with unwavering clarity. But the masses do not understand this. They believe in chaos, they believe in reaction, they believe they are victims of mood, of upbringing, of luck. They drift, they wait. They hope someone will see their worth, recognize their pain, reward their desire. But the truth is brutal. The world does not reward desire. The world rewards execution, and execution comes not from emotion but from discipline of the mind. So let us begin by defining the true enemy of success, emotional reactivity. If you allow your emotions to dictate your actions, you will be ruled by chaos. You will swing from hope to despair, from confidence to doubt, from ambition to paralysis. You will rise only when praised, and fall every time the world ignores you. You will be a puppet to every insult, every setback, every delay. Understand this law. If you allow emotions to govern your actions, you forfeit your power. But if you command your thoughts, you command your future. This is why you must master emotional detachment. Emotional detachment is not numbness. It is not indifference. It is inner strength. It is the refusal to allow temporary moods to corrupt long-term mission. It is the discipline to remain aligned regardless of how you feel. You cannot build legacy on instability. You cannot lead others while being led by your own impulses. You cannot claim what you deserve if you are willing to be dictated by the shifting winds of the day. To master your mindset, you must become immune to the lure of approval. You must sever the psychological leash of needing to be liked, validated, or understood. Your path is not for others to approve, it is for you to complete. Here is a universal truth. You do not get what you want in life. You get what you are willing to demand of yourself. You get what your mindset can contain. You get what your identity can support. And your identity is a mirror of your inner thoughts repeated, affirmed, believed, and executed. What then must you do? You must control your internal environment with the same precision a master craftsman uses to shape his tools. Your thoughts must be selected, your emotions must be examined, your beliefs must be tested, your focus must be unshakable, and your standard, your personal code must be higher than anything the world expects of you. This is the difference between ordinary men and those who become unstoppable. Ordinary men obey their emotions, masters obey their mission. You must now accept the sacred responsibility of becoming a master of yourself. Not tomorrow, not when it's easier, but now while the war still rages inside you, while the doubt still whispers, while the world still tempts you to settle for less. And how do you begin? You begin by declaring this: I am no longer owned by my feelings. I command my mind. I choose my thoughts. I act by discipline, not impulse. I rise by purpose, not by praise. I become what I decide, nothing less. You must train your mind the way a warrior trains his sword, with repetition, with focus, with fire. Every morning you declare your intent. Every hour you audit your thoughts. Every action must be run through the filter of purpose. Does this serve who I'm becoming? If yes, proceed. If no, eliminate. This is how you clean your mind. This is how you remove the viruses of fear, doubt, comparison, and excuse. This is how you earn the right to get what you truly deserve. Because let this be known, you deserve nothing you are not willing to become. And becoming begins in the mind. To master your mindset and command your destiny, you must first learn to live above emotion, not in denial of it, not in opposition to it, but in neutral command over it. That is the law. The average man believes he must respond to everything that touches his feelings. If someone disrespects him, he reacts. If his work is unappreciated, he reacts. If life is unfair, he reacts. And in doing so, he surrenders the one thing he must never give away, his ability to choose his response. Mental neutrality is the principle of choosing your inner state regardless of outer condition. It means you do not allow others to dictate how you feel. You do not give external circumstances the power to unseat your peace. You do not allow the emotional tides of the world to move you off your path. It is not passivity. It is selective focus. It is power under control. It is this: you may bring me storms, but I decide whether I drown. You may bring me fire, but I decide whether I burn. You may bring me silence, but I decide whether I hear defeat. The mind untrained is like a pendulum constantly swinging between highs and lows, elation and despair, confidence and confusion. But the mind disciplined in neutrality stands still. And in that stillness, you gain what most men never touch: clarity of action. The moment you stop reacting to everything is the moment you begin to build anything. Reaction is weakness. Response is strength. Reaction is noise. Response is signal. Reaction is emotion. Response is alignment. Neutrality is not detachment from life. It is detachment from unnecessary suffering. It is the discipline to ask, what is the most effective thing I can do in this moment? Not the most emotional, not the most dramatic, not the most familiar, but the most effective. It is the maturity to observe before responding, the strength to say, not yet. When every part of you screams to retaliate, to lash out, to quit, to escape, the powerful man does not allow his enemy to choose the battlefield. He does not allow insult to pull him into distraction. He does not allow minor defeats to make major decisions. He remains still because he is in control. And this control, my friend, is where all success begins. Let us now make this practical. Every day, you will be faced with opportunities to break this law. You will be provoked, you will be criticized, you will be tempted to overthink, overfeel, overreact. And every time you take the bait, you lower your energy, you dilute your focus, you weaken your command. But every time you pause, observe, and return to calm, even for 3 seconds, you strengthen your mental muscle. You signal to your subconscious, I am not here to be ruled by chaos. I am here to rule with clarity. Here is how you live this law. 1. Observe first, speak last. Never allow the first impulse to be your guide. Your mind will always try to fire, based on history, on fear, ego, past trauma. Pause, breathe, let that wave pass, then decide. 2. Question every feeling. Just because you feel something doesn't make it true. Emotion is not evidence. Before you believe the story that rises with your anger, with your sadness, with your insecurity, ask, is this feeling based in truth or in reaction? 3. Make decisions based on mission, not mood. You must always act in service of who you're becoming, not in service of who you were when your feelings ran the show. If your emotions are not aligned with your principles, you must override them, not later. Now. 4. Practice the discipline of silence. You are not required to respond to everything. You do not owe your energy to every argument. You do not owe your explanation to every misunderstanding. Sometimes the most powerful act is stillness, not submission, but sovereignty. Neutrality gives you the space to choose power over weakness. And the man who chooses power once becomes the man who commands it always. But be warned, the world will misunderstand you. To the reactive man, you will appear emotionless. To the dramatic man, you will appear cold. To the chaotic man, you will appear unreachable. Let them misunderstand. They are not meant to follow you. You were not made for the crowd. You were made to lead within yourself first. And the leader does not explain his stillness. He simply builds from it. Let me tell you a truth most never realize. Mental neutrality is not the absence of intensity. It is the focusing of it. When your energy is no longer wasted on distraction and reaction, It becomes available for creation, for execution, for legacy. That is why those who master their minds move with quiet power. Their energy is not scattered. Their will is not divided. They are directed. You must now become such a man, the one who sees what others miss, the one who acts when others freeze, the one who continues when others collapse. Because neutrality is the bridge between intention and action. Without it, your plans will crumble under pressure. With it, they become inevitable. So choose your response. Pause before you strike. Silence the noise. Return to center and move with force. This is how you dominate the battlefield of the mind, not through emotion, but through execution, born of clarity. And once again, as you rise from the battlefield of impulse, declare it to yourself not as motivation, but as identity. I do not react, I respond. I do not serve emotion. Emotion serves me. I do not live by default. I live by design. I do not stop. I force myself to keep going. Understand this. Calmness is not softness. Calmness is command. Calmness is not the absence of strength. It is the presence of directed strength, fully under your control. Most men burn their energy reacting to the world. They speak before thinking. They act before analyzing. They panic before pausing. And in doing so, they scatter the very force required to build anything of value, focused intention. But the man who is calm, not once, not occasionally, but always, that man cannot be manipulated, broken, or deterred. Because calmness is the shield against chaos. It is the field upon which vision is planted. It is the evidence of discipline. You cannot fake calmness. It cannot be borrowed or performed or pretended. It must be earned. Calmness is a spiritual force. It says to the world, without words, you cannot move me. I am rooted in purpose, anchored by principle, and directed by my own mind. I am not yours to disturb. Let that become your signature. Let me be clear, calmness is not passive. It is active discipline. It is your refusal to be pulled into emotional quicksand. It is your decision to remain clear when the room becomes confused. It is the inner order that gives birth to outer dominance. You cannot lead others if you cannot lead your own nervous system. And this is where most fail. They confuse urgency with importance. They confuse noise with power. They confuse reaction with intelligence. But look to history. The men who built legacies did so not through fury, but through clarity. They did not rise on chaos, they rose on calm. Because when the mind is calm, the plan is visible. When the mind is calm, the next step is obvious. When the mind is calm, the body obeys without hesitation. To master calmness is to become a weapon, silent, focused, effective. And that calmness, my friend, must begin the moment your eyes open each day. Do not start your day in frenzy. Do not reach for your phone. Do not allow the demands of others to crowd the gates of your consciousness. Begin each day by owning your space. Sit in silence, set your direction, breathe into discipline, and remind yourself, I do not serve the noise, I serve the mission. This is how you guard your mind. Throughout your day, you will be tested. Someone will insult you. Something will go wrong. Plans will unravel. Delays will appear. Discomfort will rise. And in those moments, you have only two choices. Collapse into reaction or return to calm. One enslaves you. The other frees you. Now ask yourself, what is more powerful? The man who reacts with rage or the man who smiles in stillness knowing nothing can shake him from his path? Be the second man. Do not lose time explaining yourself. Do not waste energy proving your worth. Do not dilute your power with impulsive defense. Use every ounce of your force to build, execute, repeat. Because calmness is not idle. It moves, it builds, it conquers. It operates with the assurance that storms pass, but structure remains. Let us now make this calmness tactical. There are 4 tools that you must use to sharpen and wield calmness as a permanent edge. 1. The ritual of controlled breathing. Every master breathes differently. They do not breathe like the anxious. They do not hyperventilate in panic. They breathe deeply, slowly, rhythmically. This is not yoga, this is warfare. You breathe not to relax, but to reclaim command. When the heart races, the breath must slow. That is law. 2. the discipline of pausing. Before speaking, before sending that message, before making that decision, you pause, you wait, you ask, is this aligned with my mission or is this the voice of my emotion? If it's not aligned, do not act. 3. The power of presence. Calmness lives in now, not in the replay of yesterday, not in the panic of tomorrow. Now, be here. Train your mind to return to the task, to the breath, to the footstep in front of you. Nothing else is real. Nothing else matters. 4. The command of inner dialogue. Your thoughts shape your chemistry. Speak to yourself with clarity, not with excuses, not with doubt, not with panic. You say, I see the challenge. I remain still. I remain calm. I will act and I will win. Repeat that until it becomes your inner language. Calm men speak differently because their minds are organized. Now hear this truth and never forget it. The calm mind is the strongest force in a collapsing world. When others panic, you prepare. When others doubt, you direct. When others argue, you execute. You are not average. You are not reactive. You are not here to join the noise. You are here to rise above it through silence, structure, and savage discipline. And let this be your daily code. I do not flinch. I do not tremble. I do not break. I stay calm. I stay focused. I stay in motion. And I force myself to keep going. Everything you do, every movement, every word, every response, every strategy must be preceded by conscious thought. This is the mark of mastery. This is the root of all personal power. This is where greatness begins and mediocrity ends. Most men act, then think. Most men speak, then regret. Most men leap, then explain. But the man who lives by the principle of thought first never moves without alignment. He does not act from impulse. He does not act from insecurity. He does not act from emotion. He acts from clarity. Understand this. The mind is not meant to obey urgency. It is meant to create direction. And direction only arises when you give thought its rightful position as the governor of your entire life. This principle demands that before you do, you must decide with precision. Before you engage, you must anchor in reason. Before you respond, you must reaffirm your standards. Thought first, emotion second, action third. Reverse this order, and you build a life of reaction, regret, and ruin. You must become deliberate, not just in your schedule, in your identity, in your thinking, in your expectations, in your responses to challenge, insult, and delay. The undisciplined mind rushes into every battle unaware of its purpose. The disciplined mind prepares, calculates, evaluates, and then executes without hesitation. This is not slowness. This is lethal speed with lethal clarity. Let me give you a truth that will clarify this principle forever. The difference between effort and excellence is thinking before moving. Effort says, do something. Excellence says, do the right thing at the right time in the right way for the right reason. And you cannot get there without thinking. But thinking is not worry. Thinking is not rumination. Thinking is not paralysis. Thinking, when mastered, is constructive discipline. It is the process of asking better questions, cutting away distractions, and aiming before firing. You must train your brain to operate on these questions before every decision. Is this aligned with my highest self? Is this building what I'm here to build? Is this worth my energy, time, reputation, or focus? Does this action move me toward the man I have declared myself to be? If the answer is no, stop. If the answer is uncertain, wait. If the answer is yes, act with force. You cannot afford to be mindless. You cannot afford to follow impulse. You cannot afford to give time to anything that does not serve your mission. Because your mission is sacred. It is not to impress. It is not to entertain. It is not to be liked. It is to fulfill your purpose with exactness. And thought is the only weapon sharp enough to cut through the noise. So you must build a mind that is quiet enough to think clearly and strong enough to act decisively. How? Build the habit of strategic delay. You do not act immediately. You create space, 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 1 breath, enough time to filter the emotion and replace it with thought. This is not weakness. This is strength reserved until ready to strike. 2. Operate from principle, not preference. Your thoughts must serve your code, not your cravings. Preference asks, what do I feel like doing? Principle asks, what is required of me now? Preference seeks relief. Principle seeks dominion. 3. Think from the end. Before every action, visualize the consequence. Ask, will this move multiply or will it subtract? Only act on thoughts that are consistent with your future. Your future is the measuring stick of all present actions. 4. Apply precision in language. Vague thinking leads to vague living. You must speak clearly to yourself. Not, I'll try. Not, I hope, not maybe. Speak in imperatives. I will. I am. I decide. I execute. Thought becomes destiny when thought becomes command. And once you operate from this principle daily, you will become dangerous. You will act with such clarity that people will assume you're lucky. You will speak with such conviction that people will assume you've always been this way. But they will not see the truth, that you trained your mind to obey only what serves. Thought first is the discipline of kings, the behavior of builders, the psychology of power. Because once you think with clarity, the world becomes simple, your enemies reveal themselves, your distractions become obvious, your path becomes narrow, your energy, no longer scattered, intensifies. You become a force not because you are louder, but because your every movement is chosen. So declare this every day until it becomes your instinct. I do not move blindly. I do not act by accident. I do not think casually. I lead my mind. My thoughts are filtered by mission. My words are anchored in reason. My actions are aligned with destiny. I am built for mastery because I think before I act. And once you own that rhythm, you will not need to chase success. It will find you because success is magnetized by precision. And all precision begins with a mind that says, thought first always. The most powerful part of your mind is not the one that thinks it is the one that accepts without question. That part is called the subconscious mind. It does not argue. It does not evaluate. It does not filter truth from lie. It does not distinguish between fantasy and reality. It simply accepts whatever you repeat with emotion and intensity and then begins to act upon it. Let me be clear. Your subconscious mind is the silent architect of your life. What you believe about yourself, what you expect from the world, what you think is possible, these things are not decided in moments of inspiration. They are programmed over time by repetition, by feeling, by suggestion. That's why you must take hold of this truth. You are always programming your mind either intentionally or by default. The man who does not command his subconscious is commanded by it. And the primary method by which you gain control over this invisible engine of behavior is through autosuggestion, the conscious and deliberate repetition of thoughts that align with your highest self. Autosuggestion is not positive thinking. It is mental discipline. It is the daily, consistent, emotionally charged declaration of who you are becoming until your subconscious accepts it as truth and your body begins to act accordingly. And once the subconscious accepts an idea, it will move you toward it without resistance, automatically, relentlessly, quietly. You must now ask, what have I been programming into my mind until now? Every time you say, I'm tired. Every time you say, I'm not good with money. Every time you say, I can't focus. Every time you say, that's just how I am. You're giving commands, and your subconscious listens. It obeys, it executes. So you must stop speaking weakness, stop affirming limitation, stop reinforcing the version of you that you're trying to outgrow. Because the subconscious does not know sarcasm. It does not understand insecurity. It does not question exaggeration. It simply says, yes, master. Now here is the science, stripped of fluff. Thought plus repetition plus emotion equals subconscious installation. That is autosuggestion in its most potent form. You choose the thought, you repeat it daily, you attach emotion to it, and in time your subconscious accepts it. And once it's accepted, your behavior begins to shift. You begin to act in alignment with your affirmation. You begin to become what you've been telling yourself you are. That is the quiet miracle of mental mastery. Let me now give you the formula for creating your personal declarations, your identity codes. They must meet these 3 criteria. 1. Present tense. Never speak as though it is coming. Speak as though it already is. Not, I will be focused. Say, I am a focused man. Not, I want to be consistent. Say, I execute daily without excuse. 2. Identity rooted. Don't affirm outcomes. Affirm who you are. Outcomes follow identity. I am a builder. I am calm under fire. I am the type of man who finishes everything he starts. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You rise to the level of your standards. 3. Emotionally charged. Say it like you mean it. Don't whisper your affirmations like a child asking for permission. Say it like a general issuing commands to the army of your subconscious. Add breath, add posture, add certainty, and repeat them. In the morning to command your day. During struggle to override reactivity. Before sleep to impress your mind during its most suggestible state. Here are a few examples of powerful autosuggestions you can adapt to your path. I think clearly, move precisely, and execute relentlessly. My emotions do not control me. I use them, I rise above them, I keep my word, I finish what I start. I am not average. My mind is sharp, my focus is unbreakable. I operate with calm intensity. I was not born to react. I was born to lead. Do not simply read these. Install them. Speak them. Own them. Memorize them until they become your reflex. Because once your identity shifts, your results will follow. You do not need more motivation. You do not need more external validation. You need to become the kind of man who expects excellence from himself because his mind is trained to accept nothing less. You are not trying to trick yourself. You are training yourself. And what you tell yourself repeatedly becomes your reality, not because the universe bends to your words, but because you do. And when you bend toward power through repetition, through direction, through belief, your entire world follows. Now hear this and never forget it. Success is not what you do occasionally. It is what your identity does automatically. And that identity is formed not in crisis, not in public, but in private through deliberate suggestion. So wake up every day and declare, this is who I am now. I command my mind. I align my words with my will. I affirm my future. I walk in identity. I do not need to see the evidence to believe it. I become the evidence. And every time you do that, your subconscious listens, and it begins to build what you declare, brick by brick, belief by belief, action by action. So speak wisely, repeat intentionally, declare with fire, because your mind is listening, and it will create exactly what you allow to be spoken into it. And every single day, as you do this work calmly, clearly, consistently, you cement the foundation of your future. And once again, as the man you are becoming rises within you, say it with the authority of identity. I command my mindset. I speak power. I act in alignment. I am unstoppable. I force myself to keep going because this is who I am now. There is no success not lasting, not grounded, not real without this mental faculty. No man becomes powerful by chance. No empire is built on emotion. No future is secured by illusion. You must think accurately or not at all. Because the man who does not think accurately is a man possessed by other people's opinions, possessed by outdated beliefs, possessed by fear disguised as wisdom, possessed by the past whispering doubt into every new step. But the man who commits himself to truth, no matter how hard, no matter how cold, no matter how inconvenient, that man becomes untouchable. He becomes dangerous because he is not swayed by false hope. He is not distracted by emotion. He does not argue with what is. He sees clearly, coldly, exactly, and because he sees clearly, he can build precisely. That is accurate thinking. Let us define it with precision. Accurate thinking is the disciplined ability to separate fact from opinion, truth from feeling, and reality from illusion, and to act only upon that which is verified, essential, and aligned with your mission. This is a rare art. Most people are not trained to think. They are trained to feel, and then to call those feelings truth. They confuse intensity for clarity. They confuse emotion for evidence. They confuse opinion for fact. And as a result, their lives are built on sand. You must never allow that to be true of you. Napoleon Hill himself said, accurate thought involves two fundamentals. First, to separate facts from mere information. Second, to separate facts into two classes, the important and the unimportant. Let us examine that. You must first learn to distinguish fact from everything else. A fact is verifiable, testable, rooted in evidence, based in what is. Everything else, assumption, emotion, fear, projection, is noise. You may observe it, but you may not obey it. The second task is to determine relevance. Some facts are true but irrelevant. They do not move your mission forward. So even truth must be filtered for its utility. Accurate thinking is ruthless. It asks, does this thought build me, strengthen me, move me forward? If not, it's eliminated. No attachment, no hesitation. You must become a mental sniper, not a sponge. Let me give you the 4 laws of accurate thinking. Internalize them, practice them, live by them. 1. Law of verification. Never act on assumption. Verify, especially when fear speaks. Fear is often loud but rarely accurate. Before you react, ask, is this feeling based in fact or fantasy? 2. Law of categorization. Every thought you entertain must be sorted. Fact, confirmed truth. Opinion, subjective interpretation. Noise, irrelevant émotion. Lie, deliberate or unconscious falsehood. You treat each category accordingly. Facts are used. Opinions are examined. Noise is discarded. Lies are destroyed. 3. Law of priority. Not all truth is useful. Not all facts deserve your attention. You must think through the lens of relevance. Does this thought serve my purpose? Is it essential right now, or is it a distraction dressed in logic? 4. Law of application. Truth unused is useless. Once you know the accurate thought, you must act on it. Knowledge without execution is not power. It is dead weight. The disciplined thinker moves. This level of thought is rare because it is demanding. It requires you to strip away your preferences, your biases, your pride. It requires you to face what is actually there, not what you hope is there. But once you master this, once your mind becomes a weapon of truth, no one can lie to you again. Not the world, not your emotions, not even your fears. You begin to build like a master builder laying bricks only on bedrock. No wasted movement, no false starts, no panic, just precision. And with every decision grounded in truth, your confidence grows not because you feel good, but because you know you are right. That is the highest form of power. So, from this day forward, train yourself to say, is this true? Where is the evidence? Is this feeling accurate? Is this idea aligned? Is this thought useful to my mission? Ask these questions daily, before you speak, before you act, before you react. Make them part of your operating system. Because once you do, your results will change forever. Your execution will become sharper. Your plans will become cleaner. Your time will be focused only on what matters. And when others drown in drama, opinion, and noise, you will stand like a steel pillar of clarity. Because you have chosen to see clearly. And a man who sees clearly is a man who builds invincibly. So burn this truth into your identity. I do not guess. I do not assume. I do not react to illusion. I think clearly. I verify every belief. I stand on truth. I act on purpose. And I force myself to keep going because I think like a master. Emotion is not weakness. Emotion is not the enemy. Emotion is not the problem. The lack of mastery over emotion, that is the problem. You were born with emotion, but you were not meant to be owned by it. You were meant to govern it. Let this be said clearly. The man who is ruled by emotion cannot rule anything else. Emotion is energy. It is raw, primal, and powerful, but like fire, it must be contained, directed, used as fuel, not as master. Left untrained, emotion will burn your empire to ash. But trained, emotion becomes your unshakable force. Emotion must never come before discipline. Emotion must never override principle. Emotion must never govern identity. Emotion must serve, not lead. Understand the nature of emotion. It is reactive. It is temporary. It is rooted in past pattern, not future power. The undisciplined man allows emotion to drive his words, his decisions, his movements, and when the emotion passes, he is left with the consequences. But the disciplined man feels everything and chooses anyway. Let that be you. You must feel yes. You must acknowledge the wave, but you must never ride the wave blindly. You must become the man who can stand in the center of chaos, flooded with feeling, and still execute the right decision. This is what it means to master emotion. Not to suppress it, not to ignore it, but to command it. So, how does this mastery manifest? It begins with awareness. You must train your mind to catch the emotional surge before it overtakes you. Anger, pause, ask, what is the principle being violated? Fear, pause, ask, what am I projecting that isn't real? Despair, pause, ask, what lie am I believing about this moment? You interrupt the pattern, you slow the reaction, you extract the message, then discard the noise. Next comes transmutation. Emotion is energy, and energy must go somewhere. You must redirect it. Turn fear into preparation, turn frustration into focus, turn grief into resolve, turn rejection into fuel. You do not allow the energy to rot within you. You move it with intention. Then comes command. Once you've separated the signal from the story, the emotion from the reaction, you decide. Not your past, not your triggers, not your ego. You. You act not from feeling, but from alignment with who you are becoming. This is mastery. It is built daily, in silence, in solitude, in decisions no one sees. It is forged in those moments where your old self screams to lash out, but your new self stands still. Where your mind says, let's go back, but your will says, we're going forward. That is when you win. Emotion says, react. Discipline says, think. Emotion says, run. Purpose says, rise. Emotion says, break. Identity says, build. And when your identity becomes stronger than your emotion, you become indestructible. Because now you are not moved by approval. You are not seduced by applause. You are not shattered by failure. You are centered, rooted, grounded in truth. You do not swing. You stand. Even in the face of betrayal, you stand. Even when you are overlooked, you stand. Even when you feel the pain, the pressure, the loneliness, you stand. That is what greatness requires. Not perfect feelings, but perfect mastery of self, despite the feelings. Let the world be loud. Let the storm rage. Let emotion knock on every door of your nervous system. But let your will remain unmoved. And when people ask, how do you stay so focused? How do you keep calm under fire? How do you still rise after all this pain? You'll say only this: I mastered my emotions. I disciplined my mind. I walk by thought, not by impulse. I act by mission, not by mood. I finish what I start. I force myself to keep going. Because now you understand. Emotion is not your authority. You are. And in that revelation, you become free. There is a moment in every man's life when he must decide, will I continue to be governed by the past, by the world, by emotion, by fear, or will I govern myself? Everything changes the moment a man claims inner authority. Until that moment, he is a servant to chaos, a servant to cravings, a servant to the expectations of others, a servant to moods, to pressure, to old stories. But the moment he claims dominion over his own mind, the moment he decides that nothing within him moves without his permission, he becomes a sovereign being. This is not metaphor. This is law. The world bends to the man who no longer bends to it. Not because the world becomes easy, but because the man becomes unshakable. Inner sovereignty means that you no longer require motivation, you operate by oath. You no longer chase freedom, you live it, because you are no longer a slave to thought, emotion, reaction, or desire. You own yourself. Let me say that again, clearly, slowly, fully. You own yourself. That is the pinnacle. That is the only power worth pursuing. And how do you know you have reached it? You know when. You no longer rush. You no longer explain. You no longer collapse. You no longer beg for certainty. You no longer need to prove anything. You no longer flinch at the unknown. You no longer retreat from the edge of effort. You no longer require applause to continue. You no longer fear the silence between your thoughts. You know when stillness becomes your source, not your weakness, because now you walk the world differently. Your mind is no longer a battlefield, it is a command center. Your emotion is no longer your enemy, it is your instrument. Your words are no longer scattered, they are sharp, few, deliberate. Your presence becomes a message long before you speak. You don't talk about discipline. You are discipline. You don't post about strength. You radiate strength. You don't chase peace. You embody peace. Because once you command your inner world, the outer world becomes secondary. That is sovereignty. But understand this, sovereignty is not inherited. It is not granted. It is not gifted. It is earned. Earned in the early mornings when you show up. Earned in the lonely nights when no one sees you grinding. Earned in the small decisions when quitting would be easier. Earned in the silence, in the pressure, in the pain when you choose to rise anyway. And once you earn it, it cannot be taken. Not by betrayal, not by hardship, not by failure, not by poverty, not by fear. Because once the throne is claimed, within no outer force can dethrone it. You become the source of your drive, the source of your standards, the source of your fire, the source of your legacy. And from that place, you build. You build your body. You build your mind. You build your income. You build your discipline. You build your name. You build your impact. You build your world, not as a reaction, but as a ruler. Let that be the final law you take with you. The man who rules himself can build anything and cannot be ruled by anything. So hold your head high, not in pride. In certainty, you have walked the path. You have faced the silence. You have burned the old identity. You have declared your new one. You have mastered the mind. You have trained the emotion. You have detached from illusion. You have thought with clarity. You have spoken with precision. You have acted with discipline. And now you are ready. Ready to finish what others only dream of starting. Ready to rise when others break. Ready to carry the weight others fear. Ready to own your life. So go into the fire, into the work, into the resistance, into the pressure, into the fullness of who you were born to be. And as you walk, calm, silent, clear, unshaken, say it not to others but to yourself, with all the fire your soul contains, I command my mind. I own my energy. I master my discipline. I define my identity. I take full control of my life. I think, I act, I build, and I force myself to keep going, no matter what. Because now, you are sovereign, forever. There comes a time when a man must stop waiting to feel ready. A time when he must stop asking for signs, for proof, for permission. A time when he must stop hoping the world will change and start becoming the kind of man who changes the world. That time is now. That man is you. This is not the age of emotion. This is not the era of softness. This is not the time for hesitation, apology, or delay. This is the time for complete internal dominance, the kind that burns so brightly within you that nothing external can dim it. From this moment forward, you no longer negotiate with weakness. You no longer flirt with excuses. You no longer entertain the old identity you once wore like a badge of survival. That man is dead. That story is over. The ceremony is complete. You are no longer the man who reacts. You are the man who rules. You are no longer the man who doubts. You are the man who decides. You are no longer the man who hesitates. You are the man who executes. You are no longer the man who waits. You are the man who builds. You are now the builder of your fate, the author of your mind, the enforcer of your standard, the embodiment of discipline, and the final authority on what your life becomes. You are not some vessel drifting in a sea of external forces. You are the wind. You are the sail. You are the storm. Let this world feel your presence, not because you shout, but because your discipline makes noise without words. Because your decisions echo louder than applause. Because your mind is a sharpened blade, and your spirit is forged in flame. Let your name be carved into your results, not your bio. Let your legacy be built from repetition, not recognition. Let your life be defined by the inner laws you refuse to break. From this day on, you will not be the one who almost did. You will not be the one who needed more time. You will not be the one who blamed the system, the pain, the timing, or the past. You will be the one who commanded the chaos into order. You will be the one who walked through the fire and never looked back. You will be the one who kept going long after others stopped. You will be the one who did the impossible because you refused to obey your limits. This is not a speech. This is your oath. This is your blood-made vow to yourself. You will rise when tired. You will persist through rejection. You will train when uninspired. You will speak power into your soul when the world is silent. You will act with intention when others drown in emotion. You will build in the darkness until light becomes unavoidable. Because you are not here for comfort. You are here for conquest. And your conquest begins in the mind. So if fear speaks, you silence it. If doubt whispers, you override it. If fatigue tempts, you push through it. If failure visits, you learn from it and keep going. Because nothing is greater than the man who rules himself. And now, there is only one truth left to speak. One sentence that contains the weight of every decision, every sacrifice, every moment of silence, every lonely battle, every early morning, every dark night, every ounce of self-mastery you've earned to get here. Say it now. Say it like a king. Say it like a man who will never be ruled again. I am the master of my mind. I am the governor of my emotions. I am the commander of my discipline. I do not stop. I do not beg. I do not wait. I build. I decide. I rise. And I force myself to keep going. Forever. Unshaken. Unbreakable. Unstoppable. Now go and do the work that will echo for generations.